Hey there, before we start the episode, just want to thank everyone who's been listening. Looking at my analytics, I can see we're really starting a community, and I just think that's really cool. Also, with this being episode 24, I think it's just a funny thing to point out that you can now officially listen to me for one full day. Thank you to our patron, Kevin. If you want to become a patron as well, you can go to patreon.com/pastime. And also don't forget to follow and subscribe on Instagram, YouTube, Spotify, Google, Apple Podcasts, just however you prefer to listen to podcasts. And don't be afraid to tell someone who you think you might like the episode about me. That'd be cool too. And now with the episode. Hello and welcome to episode 24 of the Pastime Thinker podcast. I'm your host, Frederick Piquet, and today my guest is Tilly.p. He's a returning guest. I forget exactly what episode you were on before. It was the Yeah, We Talk About It episode.
It was 9 or 10, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, it was during right at the heat of the very first lockdown. That's what I remember. Because I thought I was all clever with the title of Yeah, we talk about it. All optimistic.
Yeah, when we recorded that, I was in my third day of that first quarantine.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember feeling so smug with that title. Just yeah, we talk about it. And thinking it was I thought it was yeah, just one lockdown and done and we'll be good. And that'll be a crazy bookmark in the history books.
Obama. I listened back to it earlier today and I thought it was cute how many times we both said either 2 weeks or 14 days.
Oh boy. Yeah. Should have been saying months. 14 months probably around. But at the time of recording this episode, we're currently February 1st. Yeah. And the most recent episode that I've posted since recording this episode would have been my episode with Bryson. And him and I spoke a lot about, staying active and doing something every day just for the sake of doing something every day in a physical sense. But you were also doing your own little challenge called that you named January, which I thought was really cool, and I thought it'd be a really cool thing to I talked to Bryson about keeping physically active, keeping your body in check throughout this quarantine thing, but you were also doing something that helped, keep your mind flexible and for the sake of creation, which I thought would be cool to talk about. So if you can elaborate on what January is and
Yeah, so it's actually it's not my conception. I'm not that smart, but one of my cousins does music, and last year in January he was doing all these posts about it. So I was asking about it. He's like, yeah, it's just the entire point of it is to just do stuff. So at that point I was, I think, 2 months into this current lockdown and stagnating. It's like, you know what, I want to do that. So through most of January, my routine was wake up, cardio, breakfast, open the recording software, and just make something. Mm-hmm. Most of which ended up on my old Instagram because I have a new one now just for the music stuff. And some of which turned into the album that I put out in the middle of the month, which was also cool.
Shout out the album, Attilio. We want to know what it is.
It's called Charcoal Heart. It's on Spotify. Under the username Tilly.p, which is me. Hello. Yeah, that was a nice side effect? No, result. Another side effect of using your brain is that things happen.
I mean, that's both statements are true.
Yeah. So January was I've been sort of in my own groove as far as music stuff that I've done. It's always been formulaic, sort of. Let's use this preset on this instrument and see what cool sounds we can make with it. But with trying to do it for 31 straight days, it got really boring really fast. So I was like, all right, well, what can I do different?
Mm-hmm.
And it was really cool to sort of knuckle down and intentionally do something sort of branching off the stream that I would normally have done.
Yeah,
so that was an exciting time.
It was I was a little bit jealous. I remember following along with it. Every day I check my Instagram feed and be like, fucking sick guitar riff. Shit, I wish I could do that. Don't get me wrong. I've taken music lessons as a kid, but nowhere to the caliber of what you were putting on. And I just remember being and this is just him fucking around. Like he's putting this out, and it's just because like he's fucking around on a guitar, and he pumped that out. Like I remember just like laughing at myself.
Well, thank you. Um, the hope was that now that I'm like operating sort of in the world of freelance music creation and mixing and such, that
Hmm.
I could use some of that um, creative output for like internet clout, so I wouldn't have to go back to working in a public arena. The problem is the only places to advertise it really are on forums where it feels like literally everyone is much more skilled than I am. So,
I mean, I definitely feel where you're coming from. I know when I was first beginning the podcast, I was on a lot of podcast forums, and it was just I would, try to advertise my show, looking for guests, looking for feedback mostly, and and it would just get buried under a bunch of other posts of what's clearly like more successful podcasts than mine, and like it was definitely deterring at first, and then I just kind of went a little bit more inward and decided to like just grow it myself and see what I can do that way. That way, the only progress I have to compare myself to is the progress of myself a month ago. And like, as long
yeah.
as that number looked green, like I could be proud of it.
Absolutely. That's as someone operating in a field based around being creative in any form, that should be really your only metric or standard that you hold yourself to, because that's the only thing that you can control. Like I can't. Last year I was dabbling in photography and like I wanted to do 2 years ago. Oh my god, not last year. Last year was a write off. Sorry. Um,
Last year was a write off.
in a couple of summers ago when I started trying to like make a go of photography and I'd post stuff that I thought was really cool on various forums, mostly Reddit, and it would get drowned out by like, here's a picture of a brick in the wall with a sob story. How can I don't have a sob story for this picture of this dam that I visited that looks really nice. Well, then what do I do? And I'm like, all right, well, it's better than the stuff I used to do when I had my old camera and I hadn't been out there as much.
Hmm.
It's like, okay,
Yeah,
I
that's
think
what
that was
I. So like I kind of that's what I did. Yeah, like I started
hmm,
floating away from the forums, which I know a lot of people have mixed opinions about that. Like, cause even it's still a good way to network. Like
yeah.
I did. I'm pretty sure that's how I met Tank Tank Smith. He was a guest on a podcast on one of my episodes a few episodes ago. Like that's how him and I kind of connected. So like I still have to give it credit for that, but I do find a lot more satisfaction comparing like my own analytics to like my analytics from like 3 months ago than comparing it to an entirely other podcast that I have no involvement with. And I feel like that kind of made myself feel better. It actually kind of motivated me more.
Yeah, and it's also like you're comparing apples to oranges, and especially in a podcast scenario where you can have talk about literally anything. You know,
Yeah.
it's not fair to compare your podcasts surrounding talent and people in their lives to one about, let's say, true crime stories, because it's not the same thing at
Yeah.
all.
Yeah.
So, what's the metric there? You know what I mean? So
No.
the smart way to, I feel, as a creative type and as someone who spent a very long time working with other creative types, that the bar you set should be your previous record, not someone else's.
Exactly. And that it took me a while to get into that mindset myself, but it's been a little bit more it's been a lot more rewarding once that kind of clicked with me. And
Good.
like while we're on this, may as well make this a public service announcement. Like anyone listening who's like also, trying to grind out their own thing, like yeah, I think that'd be my piece of advice is just to compare yourself to yourself. And the best way to know if you're doing something wrong is if you've been doing it a few months in and like virtually nothing has changed.
Mhm.
Like even if it's like because there's been some times where like I noticed that like, oh, this month, because like the websites and stuff I use like are pretty good with the analytics, and so like I can actually see like an actual tangible number of like, oh, like you did 13% worse this month compared to last month. So like that's more of a kick in the pants for me than for just like seeing someone else be more successful than me.
Yeah. And it's like if I can be selfish and link back to the January
Oh,
stuff
for
real quick,
sure, for sure.
it's that's especially. I mean, maybe not especially, but it's definitely a factor in the realm of trying to make a go with music because I've made some stuff that I worked really hard on, and I'll post it, and I'll get 12 views on YouTube, but I made it, and that is exponentially better than the stuff I would have made in like 2018 when I did a project, or 2015, or when I was in college. So, like, whether or not it gets picked up anywhere, people watch it much, despite my sharing, it's still like a provable asset that I worked hard and I got better at something, and that's a good metric for someone to have, I think.
Absolutely. And I think like the times that we're in today, because like before we started recording, we were just talking about it too. Like, being like the fact that I'm working from home gives me a lot of time to put work into this. And I feel like, as shitty of a situation this is like a really good opportunity for self improvement.
Mm.
And like, if you're not doing it in a physical sense, at least do it in a creative sense, or like whatever drives you, right? Like, I find like
And
this might be a vast generalization, but I feel like a lot of people fall under those two categories. You're either like a very like tangible, like physical kind of person, or a very like creative person, and like they're both acceptable. And just like whatever you're doing, just work at it. And this is assuming that things, blow over soon. This might be like the only time that you actually have this much of an opportunity to work on these things.
that's why I started A, doing the music, B, doing the exercising, because I busted. If I was about to swear, but I
You're
worked a
completely allowed to
whole lot.
swear. Don't worry. We
Okay.
got that. We got that E for
I
explicit.
I busted my ass working through the back half of 2018 and 2019, and work was my life. And
Mm-hmm.
then smash cut to March 2020, and all of a sudden I have nothing to do. So hey, here's all this free time. Let's make an album, and then another one. Oh, I've been cooking a lot. I'm up 11 pounds. Time to start doing cardio. And I think I've been listening back to the last one we did. That was a joke that I was making.
Yeah.
Um, like I was gonna maybe I'll just try and work on some music, and maybe I'll start working out some muscles or whatever. And yeah, it happened.
It happened.
But yeah, because like we're in a weird point of history now, and everyone needs a win.
Yeah.
So it
It doesn't matter if it's a public win or if it's a personal win. Like, yeah, because that's again, I had the same thought process. Like, this lockdown happened, and I was working from home, and I felt like, oh shit, like I'm staying in the same house 7 days a week, doing what feels like nothing. So I was like, oh, like I haven't posted an episode of the podcast in like a month and a half. I'm like, I forgot I even had that thing. And I was like, whatever, let's just double down on this and like try it out. And I'm at 24 episodes now, which is like in less than a 2 year period, which like for me is a small victory, because even if I stopped making episodes from this point on, come October, I still would have made 2 episodes a month for the last 2 years.
and that would be a lot more than a lot of people who thought, man, I have this idea, and then never get it off the ground.
Yeah.
Which is kind of a sidetrack from the idea of setting your own bar and then jumping over it, but it's still
Setting
uh,
your own bar and jumping over it.
yeah, like your own metric for success, your own records that you have to beat. Like every podcast you make is A, going to be an improvement over your previous work because of experience, and B, going to be an addition to your body of work, and you're gonna
Yeah,
have more to show for it by doing it. So that's a good thing.
absolutely.
So hey,
And
good job.
thank you. This is just an episode of Tilly and I complimenting each other on our small victories.
But also ourselves,
But also ourselves. Yeah, I'm not
which
only
is
am I going to compliment you, I'm going to compliment myself, and I hope you do the same
yes,
thing.
self-complimenting is very uncharted territory for me.
Oh
So
yeah,
I hope you
you're.
can appreciate how uncomfortable that was for me.
Oh, I know, because I don't know if you're comfortable talking about, but like I know that you and I had a conversation. Like you and I, we share a vein of humor in terms
Mhm.
of self-deprecation. And I remember quite a while ago you decided to like make an active effort to avoid self-deprecating humor.
That was because I got chewed out by a mutual friend of ours for doing it in a public setting amongst coworkers.
Oh. Nothing like public shame.
No, it was private shame, but
Oh, okay.
it happened, and I kind of forced a different scope on the subject for me that I hadn't really had.
Hmm.
And then, of course, I dropped it as a concept for like a year and a half. But I tried, and that's a small win.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I understand that self-deprecating humor is probably like it's probably not the healthiest thing, but like,
Definitely not.
but it can be funny, and it can be
Yeah.
used as a weapon too. Like I've seen, like, again, not to get into like super specific examples, but like I've seen you get into, like, I won't call it an altercation, but like a scenario, have you, where I've seen you use self-deprecating humor to completely deflate someone else's points,
Oh yeah.
which I just find beautiful. I
Oh,
find
yep.
I found it amazing.
Well, thank you. It was definitely something that could sort of take the edge off of a particularly aggressive customer at work in downtown Toronto.
Yeah, and it, like, it
When
just it reminds me. It's like an 8 Mile moment. Like, I don't know if you've seen
oh
that, but like that's exactly what it
yeah.
makes me think of. Is just at the end of 8 Mile when Eminem, instead of rap fighting, he just does a whole rap about like all the dirt the other guy has on him, and he's like, "All right, now that I've said my piece, like, you try to insult me using shit I haven't said yet," and like I find it just tactically brilliant.
It is a weird feeling because like I've definitely it doesn't happen or hasn't happened a lot, but there were times where I was getting yelled at by someone who was, let's say, less than sober, and while they're insulting me and calling me fat ass and all that, I was like, yeah, okay.
I know.
I mean, when you deflate someone's like source of attack on you, what else do they have? So it's definitely a tool.
Yeah.
I also cry a lot, but that's a different thing.
But there, there's a cost, right?
Oh yeah.
Because I mean, if it's something that's so built into your own language, there is a certain degree of you're used to talking down on yourself. And
Yes.
yeah, but it's like, the straw broke the camel's back. Like, it might be jokes now, but like there might come a point where you start conditioning yourself to like permanently thinking that way, even when you're not trying to make a joke. And I think
So that
that might be where it gets, a little bit toxic. And I think maybe that's probably what our mutual friend had issue with when they
Mhm.
approached you.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. Because that's been an ingrained thing in my mentality for like at least a decade at this point.
And like, well, with any like speech pattern, I don't know, like, way of talking, because something that like I've had to work on and I'm still actively working on is I can be very dry and sarcastic sometimes.
Oh, really?
Sometimes. Just only sometimes. And it made it very, and I used to wear it like a badge of honor because I'm like, yeah, I'm very dry, I'm very sarcastic, I'm not good at first impressions, you'll get used to it, don't worry. And that used to be my attitude about it. I'm like, yeah, this is how I talk, don't worry, like, once you grow accustomed to it, we'll be fine, just know I don't mean it.
I
And
remember that, Fred.
and yeah, no, but then after spending a lot of time with the lady I live with, I realized that shit's taxing on other people.
A bit, yes.
And yeah, I had to learn, I had to figure out how to communicate in other ways,
Oh,
and I'm still not the best at it, to be completely honest.
hey, it's about progress, not perfection.
Yeah, again, that seems to be a running theme right now in this episode.
Well, I mean, I stole that line directly from the Lady in My Biggest Loser cardio workout DVD, but yeah, I'll take credit for it.
You know what? Wherever you draw inspiration, man, that's what like, doesn't matter. Art is everything. I don't know where this conversation's going.
Well, I mean, no, that exact quote, "Progress, not perfection," is something that like I use because like
Mm-hmm.
I do cardio. I'm lucky to have an elliptical machine, so I use it. Um, and a month ago, I in an hour I was topping out at like 16 kilometers, and today I got 22 and a half. So like That's progress.
Yeah.
You know,
No, that's
it's
great.
just
Like,
yeah. If you're looking to be perfect in anything that you do, you're only going to be disappointed
yeah.
in anything you do in any sort of business venture, any creative endeavor. If you're trying to be perfect, you're never going to be happy.
Yeah. And it reminds me of something my jujitsu instructor used to always say. He used to always rate everything out of 10. Like that was his thing. Like anything you can or will do can be rated out of 10. But he also had a rule that nothing can be rated higher than a 9 because no matter how well you did it just now, there is always room for improvement.
Oh yeah.
And like that's something that he really like drilled into us because it was kind of annoying. He's like, "Oh no, got to rate that a 9." Like, why not a 10? I was like, always room for improvement. I'm like, yeah, and like that was kind of like his philosophy. And yeah, like I think it's the same sentiment.
I guess. I mean, there's no such thing as, um, well, if we're going to cycle back to the concept of being in the world of the arts, nothing is ever. There is no such thing as a perfect song or a perfect painting or a perfect novel. It doesn't exist.
No, cuz
So how can
to be like classified as perfect, that means it would have to be liked by literally, not figuratively, literally everybody, which
and
is impossible. There is dislikes on kitten videos on YouTube. There is no such thing as perfection.
there are people who like the movie Whiplash. No one's perfect.
Okay, are we gonna fight about this? Are we gonna?
I was less than thrilled with the ending. It was a good movie, but it wasn't a perfect movie. Like people hail it as the best movie they've ever seen. I disagree with that.
I wouldn't say
And
it's
we're
the
both right.
best movie I've ever seen. I just, it's up there. Like that. That's just, it's up there. It's a good
Oh yeah,
movie.
that's your feeling on it. I have a different feeling, and we're both correct because it's art.
Yeah, I mean,
Right.
fuck, you're right. What's what's the point about arguing about anything when both people are always technically right?
Um, it's a good way to kill time, I suppose.
I mean, true. We're already 20 minutes in. Like,
Oh,
and
geez,
yeah. So
that's
there's
almost as long as my last relationship. Let's go. I just high
there's a
five.
there's a Tilio.
That's also not true. I just
My longest relationship was actually 20 minutes.
yeah. Oh, mama.
Oh
I'm
my.
gonna have some water.
Yeah, you go ahead. I'm comfortable with silence. It helps us think of what to talk about next.
Ah. I have exactly two notes for my rewatch of the last one. One was just in quotations 2 weeks, and then the other one is on the day we recorded. I said that there were 250 confirmed cases of the virus in Ontario,
That's it?
and yeah, exactly, and that was enough to cause a lockdown. I think we're at like in just 30,000 tests today. There's almost 2,000 cases in Ontario, which is half the testing of a good day. So that's something that's advanced. We knew nothing in March.
No, we
We knew
didn't.
absolutely
We
nothing.
were we were very I remember you and I were both very optimistic about everything back in March. And like I think
Well,
that's another interesting thing of having you on right now because you were one of the I think you may have been the first episode I posted since the lockdown. Either the first or second. You were very my episode with you was very shortly after the first lockdown. So
mhm,
like it'd probably be very interesting to listen back to that episode and see what
it
our
was.
our thoughts were like back in March. Wow.
My thoughts were I'm excited for Resident Evil 2 remake. Um, hopefully, I get to go to a trip to Ottawa, and it'll be a good 2 weeks to have a goatee and maybe shave my head.
Oh
The
boy.
margins of life were much different a year ago.
Yeah. And then now is like shit. I hope I can see my family 2 years from now.
Yeah, it's man. The thing with this, I don't want to make it dark, so we can sidestep this topic entirely if you want.
Oh no, go
But
for it.
my feelings are that it's there's not going to be a return to normal. Like the
No.
best we can hope for is that
And
we have an easy rebuild.
yeah. And I spoke with my friend Josh on the podcast 2 or 3 episodes ago. Well, this will be episode 24, so 4 episodes ago, I believe. And I said the phrase "new normal," and he said he didn't quite think that that was like an appropriate comparison, like a new normal. And like we kind of made it so like things will never be the way they were before, but there's going to be a new standard of things once we're out of this.
Mhm.
And because
Like,
like normal, the word normal, like normal is always fluctuating, right? There's going to be new standards more than likely.
for sure. Yeah. I'm not going outside without a mask either on my face or in my pocket until like at least 2024
I mean,
because
yeah,
I work in a
I
public setting and like I'm going to have to be careful for the people I work with, but also in bringing stuff home. So like I'm going to have the masks on for a very long time.
oh yeah, and like I always have a mask laying. I think Jill and I both have a mask in our coats at all times. We have like a handful of masks in our um uh, in the car at all times. Like we're on board with what we need to do.
Which is, I mean, having just listened back to March 2020, us, man, things have changed. If you have, you should definitely listen to it back because I think you'll get a kick out of how naive we were.
Yeah, I think I should have. I mean, unfortunately, I didn't think to listen to it back. But like now, I'm thinking like whenever I have return guests, I should probably listen to my last episode with them. I mean, thank you for listening back to it, because yeah, like I'm just going off memory right now.
We we talked about video games a bunch, and tattoos. And
Yeah.
when I was listening back, I said at that point you'd asked how many I had, and I said I had 9. I was like, wait, what? No, I have 10, and I forgot I got one in July, so that, that threw me off a little bit.
Could you imagine, like,
Um,
hello, we're having Attilio back on the show because, well, frankly, he lied to us last time he was on the show, and he's here to make amends. Attilio, would you like
oh,
to tell the listeners, uh, your sin? I have 10 tattoos.
there are very burly men in my room right now with suits and sunglasses, and they said if I'm not honest from start to finish, they're gonna tweak my nipples, and I don't want that. That's really bad and painful. Please stop. I have 10 tattoos. And scene.
And scene. You know what? That was a colorful little skit we did there. I think this is a good time to take a break. Actually, we're gonna take a quick ad break. I think that was like the perfect send off.
You're
All right,
welcome.
we'll be right back. This episode is sponsored by Brotherhood MFG. Brotherhood MFG is a clothing brand centered around car culture with a fresh style. They've even given me a special discount code to give to you guys. So if you go to teespring.com/stores/brotherhoodmfg and use discount code PASTIME in all caps, you'll get a 13% discount off the entire store. All right, and we're back. So yeah, from what we were talking about before, because we kind of like extremely sidestep on accident. So January, it's just in the vein of like just make something artistic. Well, in your case, it was more in the musical side of things, but
Hmm.
well, by musical, it's not like last episode with Jenna. I don't mean like musicals. I mean like instruments.
Although I do like those too.
Oh, I love musicals, but I spoke about that last episode,
Okay.
and
All right.
it's
My neck.
oh no, it's a rabbit hole subject for me. There's a couple of subjects on the podcast that I just rabbit hole every time, and it does not matter to me if I spoke about them before, and I just get lost. And it could, from what I've discovered, it comes from musicals, tattoos, and anime. If those three golden subjects come up, that's what the entire episode becomes, and I'm actively trying to avoid it.
There's got to be some kind of intersection of all three.
I mean, I can get a tattoo of an anime musical.
I was gonna say there's got to be like an anime that revolves around someone in the industry of music
More than
or
likely.
a performer that you can get a tattoo of that and then just gush for like a week.
And just gush for a week.
Fred's tattoo anime musical marathon.
Just do a whole freaking, that's what I just uproot the podcast, and it just becomes a review show on this one particular anime that's probably only like 5 episodes long. So
Part 1 of 512.
yeah. So for the first 10 minutes of this episode, this is what we've this is what I've gathered.
Just do one of those like frame by frame analyses like people did of movie trailers on YouTube.
Yeah. It's like, okay, so you can only see it on frame 1458. But if you look here and change the resolution, it kind of looks like they're giving you the finger. Now,
Oh no.
now this could be a callback to Shia LaBeouf's earlier work when
In his other anime musical. Yikes. I
uh,
don't have the patience for that kind of deep dive into stuff, I'm gonna be honest.
no, but I love watching those videos. I don't think I could ever produce a video like that, like a deep dive video, but I love watching them.
Mm-hmm.
I love watching analysis videos. Like, are you familiar? Like, you must be. Cinema Sins.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh my god, I love Cinema Sins. Even when they do a movie I love Cinema Sins.
Hey, do good work.
Yeah, and it's just cool to like be able to be so like passionate about something that like you're still willing to pick it apart. Like they must. I don't know. Like I don't claim to know them personally or anything like that, but like the only way that they can come out with content like that is if they were really passionate about cinema, but their
Mm-hmm.
entire job is shitting on cinema. So like, is it like a love hate? Is it just for the laughs? Like I really wonder what drives those guys to do a show like that.
There's got to be some sort of cross section of like enthusiasm and
Hmm.
just like an inclination to understand things, that like that mentality, almost like a mechanics mindset of like, how does this work? I must know how this works.
Yeah, because like even like I've learned a lot just from like just in terms of like cinematography and stuff like that, watching like a YouTube show like as silly as Cinema Sins, because they actually know what they're talking about, which is again it adds like an interesting layer of like being so passionate about something that you're still able to and willing to shit on it, because
Yeah.
like if any person in like my friend group were to like actively shit on movies the way those guys do, like there would come a point where I'd be like, just stop fucking watching movies then. You clearly don't
Yeah.
like them.
Yeah. That
But
is interesting. I never thought of it because that is like an infuriating thing a little bit. Maybe that's the wrong word for it. Maybe that's too strong, but I get what you're saying. Yeah.
mhm.
Oh.
But it's just funny because again they're just like a meme channel at this point, but like sometimes they'll like award a sin to a movie for like something benign, like my favorite one is like narrating, and then you hear the little ding. I was like, yeah, movies have fucking narrators sometimes. But then there's other times they're like, okay, so we're awarding this sin because, and then they just get into like some huge like technical jargon. I'm like, okay, but they actually know what's going on. But like, why are they choosing to like shit on this?
I mean, it's a form of entertainment. Clearly, there's an audience for it,
Oh
and
yeah,
they
I
must
watch
enjoy
every
it if
single
they still
episode.
do it. So, yeah,
I watch
and
every single episode.
find your market and mine it.
Yeah, that's
Mine
true.
is mine. It seems like it's dehumanizing the whole thing of it, but you know what I mean. Like,
Yeah.
there's content is king, and there's someone willing to pay attention to the content. Make it if you're enjoying it.
Oh, for sure. And again, we keep sidestepping. I apologize. Um,
So January, yeah, making
January.
stuff.
So in terms of creation, you did was it you made two albums in this time period, right? Well, not within the last month, but like since you've kind of been trying to like flex your creative muscles, like you've come up with two albums, correct?
Yeah, since our last recording in March or in the last year, yeah, two albums and a single that was going to be part of one of the albums, but I needed to test how the upload stuff worked.
Okay. And
So
like
21 tracks in total.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
21 songs in a year period. And I guarantee you listeners, every single one of them are fire, so go listen to it. Tilly.p Charcoal Heart.
There's a couple of solid threes on that list. I'm gonna be honest.
3 out of 3s, am I right?
3 out of 10s. Well, like there's a thing. I say 21, but like, uh, 14 or 15 of them are things that I had previously either recorded or written down, but in the years since doing like some of it is from like stuff in an album I did in 2018, but I've scrapped those, re-recorded it with the new gear and new experience and knowledge that I've gained in that time.
Yeah.
So
I
it
don't
kind of feels a little like cheating, but also
I mean,
it's not
how
a
so?
product.
Cuz no matter how you look at it, it's a song created by you, posted by you. Doesn't matter when you did it.
Hmm.
It's your song that you made.
Yeah.
Regardless
That's
if it was out then or if it's out now, it's still a song you made and you put out there.
well, thank you. I mean, I try to. This is something like that I that held me back for a few weeks on like trying to post anything was that like of the 12 tracks that are on the most recent one that I did, seven of them are reworks of stuff from my projects. What's the math? They're 3 and also 6 years ago. That's why I was like, I don't know if it's lazy or not. But then I was by a friend of mine who produces music. He was like, no, it's not lazy. You're literally re-recording all of it and making it better.
Yeah.
All right, I guess if you are cool with it and will open that gate for me, then cool.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's completely fine. You have my full support.
Oh, thank you. It's a weird thing. I held a poll on my Instagram a couple days ago. I was like, "Hey guys, is this lazy?" And overwhelmingly, people were like, "No, it's not." So, hey,
Yeah, so give us the content, Attilio.
I have been enabled by the internet.
Yeah.
I've been pressured by my peers. Let's go.
Peer pressure works. And
Oh yeah.
as a and like I don't mean that as a joke. Like
Mhm.
for all the negatives and positives of it, peer pressure is effective and peer pressure works.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, but again, I'm not saying that like it's an overwhelmingly positive thing. It's just true. Like you can
Well, I mean, sorry.
it's okay.
I didn't want to cut you off. I thought you were at the end of that thought.
Oh no, it's fine. What were you going to say?
Oh, was there's the two sides of the peer pressure spectrum of, hey, try this narcotic, and hey, this sounds really good. Fucking finish it,
Yeah,
which was me with music, because like I wouldn't have had projects really posted or to speak of if not for I had recorded a little thing and I sent it to my friend in the music world. He was like, dude, this is dope. Can I write a solo over it? And like, yeah. And that lit a fire under me because now it was a thing that was going to happen.
hmm
And that sort of opened the floodgates. And now 2 albums. So like that's the other side of the peer pressure spectrum that I fully support.
absolutely. So when's album number 3, Mr. Attilio?
Uh, if it happens, probably like May.
Oh, really? That soon?
If I set myself a deadline and also work, because it costs money to get stuff distributed,
Yeah.
um, and I'm not employed at the moment. But hey, maybe I'll get in on this stock game.
Getting on the I didn't think we were going to talk about the stock market right now.
Stock Sember over here.
Stock
Oh, as
Sember.
we're talking, I got an email from Spotify. Look at me go.
Congratulations. You have made 30 cents.
Oh man, it's not a good cut from Spotify.
Oh, really? Did they take a lion's
Really
share?
not. I think for a stream, I get like a third of a cent.
Oh my. I mean, I was recently watching a video. I don't know. I think I went down like a YouTube rabbit hole or something, but like it was like a video on like passive income, and like this guy mentioned Spotify, and like yeah, he said he makes like a third of a penny, but like
Mm.
if you get like X amount of people to listen to it a day, then you know it does grow. It's more so like once you just need an audience to
Oh yeah,
like listen to the shit out of it all day, every day,
there
nonstop.
was Are you familiar with the band Wolfpack at all? I may have sent you stuff of theirs in the past, but
Wolf Pack?
Wolfpack,
Nope.
effectively yes, but in German. They're a funk group with varying amounts of members. There's usually like the same four core guys, but like they did a concert in Madison Square Garden in 2019 where they had like a whole. I'm sidetracking myself. They did this thing in I think 2014 where they were unhappy ish with the Spotify stuff because they, as a group of musicians trying to make a career in music, weren't getting paid enough to live. So
Okay.
they crowdfunded their tour.
They
That was,
crowdfunded a tour.
yeah, they raised like 20 grand, I think, so that they could go on a little North American or just American tour. I forget the exact specifics here, and I don't want to speak out of turn. But like that was 7 years ago, and it's only gotten worse since then.
Well, does this mean we gotta crowdfund you a tour budget, Tilio? Is that what you're saying? You going on tour?
I know. I in my adult life, I've been to like 4 shows, and I was so uncomfortable for all of them.
Oh,
They were
really?
fun. Like yeah, two of them in the back half, the final third of 2019.
Nice.
One of which was a Rockhampton show where I got elbowed and shouldered in the head and jaw, and also got really sick after.
Oh, that sounds like head trauma. Were you
Oh, it was totally worth it, though.
were you concussed?
No, but I was like really dizzy for a long time.
Oof.
I say a long time. It was like 10 minutes, maybe.
That might feel like a long time.
Yeah. Luckily, I was with my best friend who was both a foot taller and like got 50 pounds on me. So he kind of just pushed a hole in the crowd for us to get to the side so I didn't die.
Just working security.
Kind of, yeah.
Get this man through.
Eh, it's fine. It was a good night. But no, I'm not going on tour, is how we got there.
Oh, that'd be cool. No, like again, this is maybe like the fifth time. Anyone listening, please go check out Tilly.p on Spotify. He makes some pretty cool shit.
Well, thank you.
Which sounds, this is gonna be a wild segue, but like
Okay.
the way some swear words are used, like the way I just said, he's got some pretty cool shit.
Mhm.
Like that's good, but if I said he makes shit, that's bad.
I was going to swing that into a self-deprecating joke by saying almost exactly that. Yes.
Yes. Well, I deflated your point.
Well, that's fine. What do you think was the first time someone described anything as being blank as shit? Because I think it must have been like in the 80s or something when
Oh,
people were
I
trying to
you,
be.
you meant like within history. I thought you meant like me, like my personal experience.
Nah, I imagine that was like a kindergarten thing for you.
No, it was weird. 'Cause I was about to recall a memory, and
Oh, tell me,
the first
please.
time I heard anyone describe something like blank as shit, um, uh, was my stepdad,
Okay.
and I think it was one of those situations where like I was a kid listening, like eavesdropping on a conversation I shouldn't have been, like where they thought
Mm.
like I wasn't paying attention, but I was, and he was like describing one of his coworkers or something like that, and he said he's nuttier than squirrel shit, and I have never forgotten that phrase my entire life. I try to use it any chance I can.
I like that.
Yeah.
That's a quality phrase to have learned in the early goings of life.
Nuttier than squirrel shit. But
I don't have anything like that, but I did learn the phrase or the act of calling someone a cocksucker by being in the same vehicle as my dad on the highway. I know what you think. Did you get an in-school suspension in the fourth grade for saying that? Yes, I did.
oh, I mean, it's I mean, I guess it's better to learn that stuff from your parents instead of figuring it out. I figured out the middle finger at school with no knowledge of what the middle finger was. And that got me in a lot of trouble. We had a substitute teacher and she was doing roll call, and the girl who sat behind me was much smaller than me. So, from where the teacher was standing, she couldn't see her. And she's doing roll call. She's like, "Fred." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm here." And then she's like, "All right, so and so." And then she's like, "Oh, I'm here." And then the teacher's all confused. She's like, "Where are you?" So, without thinking, and I don't know why I did, I pointed at her with my middle finger over my shoulder. And I was like, "Oh, she's right there." And Fred just gave me the middle finger, and like everybody has eyes on me. I'm like, "Wait, what?" And and I was so confused and put on the spot. I'm like, "No, no," like I was and like I did it again, like trying to like explain what I was doing. I'm like, "No, I was pointing at her." And he's doing it again. He's doing it again. Fred's giving me the middle finger. And I was just like bewildered. And so like the teacher is like, you don't use that finger, Fred. And I was a Y kid. So I'm like, why don't I use this finger, miss?
Oh,
And she's like, because it's a bad finger. I'm like, why? she's, she's like, because you don't show people that finger. I'm like, well, then I'm like looking at my hands. I'm like, well, I can see both my middle fingers right now. Like looking at my hands. I'm like, how does this work? And she's like, it's just a bad finger. Don't stick it out. Don't point it at people. And I went, okay. And then because I'm a shit, like whenever the teacher turned her back, I would just give the girl behind me the middle finger, not knowing what it means, and she would lose her mind every time. But like,
he has unsheathed the bad finger.
but yeah, like I guess that's like the downside of like your parents not, you know, at least delicately like telling you like the do's and don'ts, because like that's how I figured out the middle finger. And that would have been in like, I think grade 1, maybe SK or JK. It was somewhere around. It was within my first 3 years of elementary school. I can't exactly pinpoint when it was.
I mean, so before a child can use that with malice and knowing what they're doing, hopefully, anyway, there's
Yeah.
probably exceptions to that, but ideally, before it can be used as a weapon.
Oh, well, there's no like first grader using the middle finger with sincerity, like with its intended use.
Yeah. All right, relax, kid, with that figure. You haven't had to feel life yet. Relax.
You haven't earned using that finger. But yeah, and like no one, again, I can't exactly explain when I've learned the meaning of the finger, but like being a freaking 5-year-old, like just knowing you can't do that or people get flustered and wanting to be a shit disturber, like yeah, no knowledge of what this finger meant. I just started doing it all the time until I think the school may have called my mother.
You just drop the big guns on you for that.
Yeah.
Think of like, if pressed to do it right now, I would have no idea how to explain to a small child why swearing is wrong. I mean, like I get courtesy and stuff, but like I don't know. I do it so often. It's a knee jerk reaction to a lot of stuff.
Yeah,
So how
especially
can I?
since like a lot of like specifically swear words, they don't really have a clear-cut definition. Like a lot of it is just like the way like societal norms, in all honesty. Like if I asked you right now, like what's the textbook, like what's the dictionary definition of the word fuck? Could you explain to me by itself the definition of fuck?
It's probably to do with reproduction.
Actually, not. I don't know why I asked that question. There's, for anyone else listening, and for you, when we're done recording this, there's actually a documentary on Netflix right now called "The History of Swear Words." It's hosted by Nicolas Cage.
Outstanding.
Yeah. So, like the most clear, so like the most, I guess, easily way to define the word "fuck" is it's an adjective that means to hit or to strike.
I would never have guessed that.
Yeah. But aside that, yeah, it's all like the way society is defining the word, right? Like I have it, like I don't know, it's just a me thing. Like I have strong feelings about children swearing, even though I swear all the time. I just don't think kids could swear. I feel like this is the time of their life where they should be developing a vocabulary and not have to rely on swear words when there's adjectives that you can use, and like you can, grow your vocabulary.
Vocabulary, yes, but also for me, I think respect for people in general. Because
Yeah.
if you introduce a kid to an insult or a swear word rather, they're probably going to use that as an insult because kids are shitty little creatures.
Yeah.
They're
And
evil, or can be. Anyways, they have the capacity to be really mean for no reason. It's like that. I feel like would be the main driving force.
Yeah, I remember having a conversation with one of my younger siblings, and kids think they know fucking loopholes, right?
Yeah.
And I forget exactly what he said, but like I was just teasing him, I was bugging him, and he said frick you.
Oh.
And I was like, hey, like you don't say that to me. You don't talk like that. He's like, and he goes like, what? I said frick. I'm like, yeah, don't say that. And he goes like, I didn't swear. I'm like, yes, you did. And he's like, no, I didn't. I said frick. That's not a swear. I'm like, you gotta realize, kid, that like, fuck isn't a bad word because of the letters in a row that it is. Fuck is a bad word because of the meaning behind it. So if you said frick you, but you meant fuck you, it's the same meaning. Doesn't matter what word you used.
That's a very good way to lay that out. I might have to use that mentality in the future. So I'm glad you said that because that's a good way to highlight why that's a problem.
Yeah. And I find myself using it with, like, you only ever need to use that rationale specifically with children, but
Yeah.
but like, no, like, again, like, anyone who knows me, like, I swear a lot.
Oh yeah.
It's a growing problem. I used to not swear at all, and then like a floodgate opened, and I swear all the time. But I really do dislike children swearing.
Yeah.
Just
It
because
feels
you can use this time, like you're like, because they're building habits, right? And if you're already building the habit of like using these universal words, because fuck, shit, bitch, like those are very universal. Those are very, very malleable words. They're gonna start using that in everyday conversation where they could be using that time to grow their vocabulary and figure out better words to get their points across.
mm, I mm, I understand it. I agree with that. I hope I'm never in a situation where I have to be that guiding light of knowledge because oh man, am I going to drop that ball?
Oh,
Also, like, don't swear. Life hasn't been hard to you yet. Well, that's unfair to
that
assume,
that's
but
that I find that extremely funny though. Like kids can't swear
maybe,
because they haven't
hmm,
they haven't been punched in the gut by life yet. They
it
don't.
should be a lot. You can't drop the heavy C on someone until you've been no tipped on a $200+ check.
There's milestones you have to reach. There's certain
Yeah,
bookmark moments in your life. It's like once this has happened to you, you know what? You got the fuck card now. You can say the word.
you unlock all the squares and you get the prestige, and you're good.
That'd be
Oh,
funny. And then you have like receipts. It's like, hey, are you allowed to say that word? It's like, yeah. If you see here, back in date and time, I found out my girlfriend was cheating on me in third grade. So, yeah, I can say the F word now because life sucks. Am I right, fellow adults?
oh, sorry, I didn't realize you had your fuck card. I'm sorry. I'll back off. As you.
Oh,
Oh man, didn't I?
that'd be funny too. It's like, what material are they printing those on now? I've had mine for years now. Like, have they updated what the cover art?
It used to be on this like red and white plastic card, but they upgraded. Now it's a green card with your picture and an autograph on it. Signature, not autograph.
Uh,
If you don't have that card, you got to pay like $50 just to swear.
could you? And it was. I love this made up world. And then if you don't have the credentials to use certain swear words, it's a fine. It's not criminalized, but like
Hmm.
you pay a fine like a parking ticket.
Or like an hour of community service.
An hour of community service.
Yeah, just like an hour sweeping up cigarette butts on the sidewalks downtown.
Yeah.
What a pristine society we would have if people were punished for swearing by cleaning things.
I mean, then that introduces the whole forced labor argument, which we're not getting into. We're not. I'm not.
Does it?
We have less than 10 minutes left on the episode. I'm not getting into that
Oh
subject.
no. I didn't realize that's where that was going to lead. I was just thinking like,
It wasn't leading there. I brought it up. I apologize.
okay,
So what's your favorite swear word, and when did you learn about it?
uh, I like it's not a harsh one, but I like dumb shit because
Dumb
you can
shit.
really force the power with you dumb shit. If I just like the way it sounds because it's not like super degrading, but you getting the point across that you think someone's an idiot.
Yeah,
It's also just fun to say. I like dumb shit.
dumb shit. I call my cat shitface a lot.
They can't fight back. Whatever.
Yeah, I don't know when it happened, but it's just a nickname. He'll come strolling by and be like, "Yo, what's up, shitface?" Like that's just what I got for him now.
Tasty power move to pull on your cat.
Well, once I finally like upgrade the cat to like human baby, like I'll have to get more creative with my slurs.
Uh, I got nothing. I don't. I'm not wired to think of insults directed towards babies. I guess
Oh, you haven't spent enough time around babies.
that's by design.
That's what
That is.
that tells me. Oh, I've been surrounded by small children my entire life.
Huh.
My entire life. I am like this. I'm the second oldest of like 100 kids.
Oh,
Yeah. And then like, of course, like once I grew up and moved out of the house, my brother decided to have kids, and now I got nephews and a niece.
think of all of the young impressionable minds you get to shape.
Oh, it's a burden, man. It truly is. The responsibility.
The weight of this genius that I'm going to pass on to these children is just too much to bear.
uh, no, I'm grandstanding. I'm just joking. Like,
Oh, I know, I know.
I'm not their parents. I'm just their uncle, which means I get to tease them, which is the highlight of my day. It's just intellectually stressing out a child. It's a small form of joy for me. I can't explain it. I don't like torture the kid or anything. I don't want to get that across, but like
Just a
when,
little bit of gaslighting.
yeah,
The, the
just
healthy amount to make them question the world around them.
I just like making empty threats when he refuses to like eat his vegetables.
Oh, oh, okay.
I just like go over my brother and sister-in-law's head just to like see his reaction.
I was thinking like training them to think of a color as a different kind of color or something like that.
I forget. So like my nephew absolutely despises vegetables. Despises them. He hates them. It's a problem. And I was at my brother's the other night, and my nephew was told to clean his room, and it was like approaching bedtime, and his room was nay clean. And I like popped in his room like, hey, just so you know, for every toy on your ground equals one vegetable in your lunch for school tomorrow. And I just like popped out. And then he like I just screw with him a little bit like that every now and then.
Yikes. I could never be that guy. If I were in that exact situation, saying that exact thing, I'd feel bad by like the fourth word.
Oh, no, it's just once you spend enough time around small children, like this is kind of weird for me to say. I have immense experience being around small children. What do you do, Fred? I'm a salesman. Uh, uh, no, I've always been around younger kids just because my family life, right? Like there's always been young people around. Dude, it wears off. It wears off. You just start seeing them as people, and once you start seeing kids as people, you start seeing their assholish behaviors. It's just because all people are assholes, and like children aren't exempt of that.
If I may quote Scrubs, because there's a Scrubs for every situation. People are bastard coded bastards with bastard filling.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, children are just people, and people are assholes.
When you boil it down like that, really, we are all equal.
Oh, I think that's a fun. Like, I'm choosing to end it here. No, that's a good sentiment to end this episode on.
Nice hill to plant your flag on for future generations.
Kids are assholes. End of show.
Right.
But yeah, thank you for coming on, Attilio. And
Thanks for that.
for people listening that don't like hearing his voice but thinks he's good at playing instruments, you can check out his albums. Yeah, he doesn't sing in them, but
Mercifully,
he do play those instruments good though. And if you if you want to hear him play you some music, go check him out on Spotify. I'm pretty sure your newest album's called Charcoal Heart.
yes, sir.
Yeah, look him up, Tilly.p. That's exactly as it sounds in spelling, Tilly.P. Yeah, thank you for listening. Thank you for coming on, Attilio.
Thank you.
Alrighty. And goodbye.